है
चलो सर आप ही शुरू करो.
Welcome to the new episode of chaipekharcha. Today we have an old friend with us, and as you would see, three of us are in the same room, which has not happened before. So pretty excited to have an in-person episode, but even more excited to have Himanshu in the episode as a guest. Himanshu, I will not try to introduce you. You should do it. So please give us a brief intro of your background till you became an NRI and as an NRI.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me over here. As Siddharth rightly said, old friend being in the same room multiple times when I was back there in Singapore. But for the sake of introduction, let me tell you something about myself. So talking about the pre-NRI life first, my career started back in India in 2015. I was in India for 4 years, worked across two companies, starting with an e-commerce company in India where I got in through college placement. Worked there for about 1.5 years. My data engineering / business intelligence role में था वहाँ पे. Then I joined JP Morgan Chase with an aspiration to become an NRI. I thought that JP Morgan Chase would give me an opportunity कि मैं US जाऊँगा, Europe जाऊँगा, maybe settle हो जाऊँगा. But that never happened. But I stayed there for a good 2.5 years. That was pretty much my pre-NRI life. I have predominantly stayed in areas related to data analytics, data engineering, and related stuff. Then Facebook happened, basically a company which got me to Singapore, a company that got me outside India for the very first time, be it for tourism purpose or non-tourism purpose, and that too for a job. Been with Facebook Singapore for about 2.5 years, then moved to another company in Singapore itself for 1.5 years. Then came another point in my life where I thought Singapore is not really working out in terms of multiple things that we might get to in this episode later. And after that, the move to Dubai happened, where I'm currently working for a BNPL company in the Middle East as an analytics manager. And it's been 8 months here in Dubai. And altogether, I would say close to 5 years as an NRI and close to 4 years as a non-NRI. So the NRI part is kind of being the majority now.
Okay, let's go in reverse chronology. So we'll start with Dubai and then we'll talk about the transition from Singapore to Dubai and then Singapore. So within Dubai, give us your standard allocation of expenses, daily expenses or monthly expenses, how it goes, how much goes into real estate, general grocery and all of those things, how much in transport and so on.
Absolutely. Your rental is the majority part of your expenses, be it Singapore, be it India, also to much extent if you're not owning a house. So Dubai may be, so the first thing to note in Dubai, as far as rentals are concerned, is that monthly contracts or monthly rents are not standard, right? So it can even go to a yearly rent where you pay yearly rent upfront, and that's when you actually get the best deal because जो owner रहता है, जो agents रहते हैं, they always try to get as much money upfront as possible. So the negotiation basically goes till a yearly contract and a yearly payment as well, where you pay for the whole year rent एक साथ, and then you just keep staying there. And then uske twice a year or quarterly are the other standards. They call it checks, basically 1 check, 2 check, 4 checks. So why I'm saying that? Because that expenditure is not realized in general on a monthly basis. You need to average it out and you pay in advance, right? So in my case, I pay on a quarterly basis. So mere case mein, you can approximate it as like 20% of my salary, which is a good amount and which is on the lower side of what other people pay as a proportion to their salary. That's what I pay in my rental expenditure, which is 20% of my salary a month. In terms of other stuff, I would say helpers, which are really, really on the cheaper side here, the services that you get from them, be it a cook or a cleaner. So that goes to about 5% of the monthly salary or annual, whatever. And in that, you'd like in Singapore, where the helpers' wages were on an hourly basis, Dubai में hourly के हिसाब से नहीं होता है. They come like दिन में एक बार आना या 2 बार आना. According to that, they come. And we have both cooks and cleaners coming twice a day, every day. So even then, I'm paying 5% of my monthly salary to them, which makes sense for a country like Dubai, where it's quite cheaper to get hire helpers here, and they are also on part-time basis. They have other engagements. So these are, I think, yeah, good.
Is the payment similar to how we do in India? Because India में generally month में एक maid या cook जो भी आते हैं करते हैं, तो वही
same month में एक बार and month खत्म होने के बाद. So we haven't paid our cook yet. So उसको एक महीने जब खत्म हो जाएंगे, then we'll be paying it to him. Apart from these two, there is electricity cost. The major part of electricity is actually air conditioner, which you will be using throughout the year mostly. If not throughout the year, at least 10 months a year, except December and January, you can say. But that too, you might need it at the night. तो यहाँ पे एक फंडा है कि when you rent out a place, it comes with a clause of something called chiller free. That means that your air conditioner cost will be borne by the landlord or the building management. You don't need to pay it as part of electricity bill. Okay. That comes to like a lot. I would say that will come to at least 1,000 dirhams a month, only AC cost, right? Apart from that, the other electricity cost is about 300 to 400 dirhams a month. So you can see that जब भी आप घर देखने जा रहे हो, रेंट आउट करने जा रहे हो, then you can see कि चिलर फ्री है तो क्या प्राइस पे आ रहा है, नॉन चिलर फ्री है तो क्या प्राइस पे आ रहा है, and you can do the math. So that's a quick tip. If someone wants to rent out here, you should look for chiller free.
To like 1,000 dirhams is essentially 22,700
a month
per month just for AC cost.
Just for AC cost, and that too when you are using it like consciously. When your apartment comes with a chiller-free facility, your consciousness goes for a toss a lot of times. AC चल रहा है तो चल रहा है पूरे दिन. You don't care, right? But if you are paying it out of your pocket, you might want to be conscious about it. कि living room में कोई बैठा नहीं है, you might just switch it off or things like that. But Dubai heat में it's very difficult to save up on your AC cost, because if you switch off the AC for even an hour, it will get super hot inside. So you will end up using the AC for the full day. So it makes sense to take a chiller-free apartment in general. They're hard to find, but if you are able to put in some effort, you'll get some options. So rent ho gaya, electricity ho gaya, Wi-Fi and phone, big cost in Dubai. We don't have things like TPG in Singapore or Jio in India. You have government companies like Etisalat and Du here. So data is costly. We use a package which is about 50 dirhams a month, which gives us 1 GB a day. So that's on mobile data. Wi-Fi costs, they go up to 499 dirhams a month for the package that we would like to subscribe to if you're working from home at least twice a week or something like that. So Wi-Fi and mobile expenses are on the higher side. But you can figure it out according to your needs, because there are a lot of packages in the mobile expenses as well that you can subscribe to. For example, आपको India call करना है बहुत ज़्यादा, so there are international packs that you can subscribe to. You can also configure कि मेरे को एक दिन के लिए calls करना है, so you'll have a better package and things like that. So you can configure according to you by using some of your brains. Municipality tax, there's another tax here that we have to pay. Again, it's not called as tax, it's largely a fee, which is 5% of your monthly rent. That comes as part of your electricity bill. It's heavily hidden cost because nobody tells you up front. It's basically when your first electricity bill hits you, it's part of that bill. So you're like, ye kahan se aaya? I never subscribe to it. And then you dig around and you figure it out that this is something that you have to pay. So that's one of the hidden costs.
For audience case, 20% rent tha, 5% was helpers. Then if you have to bucket in the utilities, it would be another 5 to 7%. With
utilities, 5 to 7%, I would say it's a good figure. Uske baad, if I talk about transport, again, there are two different kind of people here. One who survive without a car, I am part of that as of today, and one who can't survive without a car. So economics are very different for both of them, right? So that itself is a big 5-minute content. So probably we can talk about that now. If you're not a car person, or if you want to survive without car, either you take app-based taxis. Careem hai, Uber hai. Careem and Uber operate independently here, by the way, in terms of ground operations. Then there are multiple other apps that you can take, and they are cheap. If you hail a cab direct road se lete ho, meter pe, you also get them, and they are cheapest. But you pay a premium, and you can call on demand as well through the app. That's one of the mode of transport which is very popular. Supply is very high, so you get cabs anytime a day you want. Like not really at the peak times, but all the other times you get it very easily. At peak times, you have to use the app, pay a premium, and then they come to you. That's on that. And if I give you an estimate for a 5 kilometer ride, you will end up paying 15 dirhams approximately, which is about 300, 350 INR for a 5 kilometer ride. In a good Lexus, well maintained cab, by the way, not a Tata Indica or an Alto or things like that, basically. If not that, there are public transport options, but they are not very well connected. One of the aspects where we miss Singapore the most is public transport. So buses की frequency बहुत खराब है. 15 minutes में you get a bus. So if you miss one, you have to wait for another 15 minutes, stand in the heat and wait for it. So you can't really rely on that unless it's coming in like 2-3 minutes of your time reaching to the bus stop. Or there is metro. So there are 2 lines in metro right now, but again, they can't really cover whole of Dubai. In terms of cost of metro, it's similar to Singapore. So if you go, say, 5 metro stations, it will cost you 3 dirhams. If you go to 7 metro station, it will cost you about 5 dirhams. So it's pretty minimal. And there is silver and gold class as well. Gold class, you pay the double, high chances of getting a seat, better seats, and stuff like that. So that's another public transport option. Apart from that, the Transport Authority is working on experimenting other models. They have started mini buses here on demand, which is piloting in 2-3 different areas. That's pretty much how can you survive here without a car. If you want to get a car, there are a few milestones. First, you need to get a license here, which will cost you at the minimum 8,000 dirhams, which is about 2 lakhs INR just to get a license. It will be a 3-month duration where you take theory test, parking test, lateral parking, horizontal parking, whatever, lot of things like that. And then you get a car. Getting a car, it starts from 10,000 dirhams as well. Like you can get a second-hand Lexus at 10,000 dirhams, and then sky's the limit. You can go till 1 million dirhams as well to get a fancy car. Parking is also expensive, so people always look for free parking spots or mall parking and stuff like that. Otherwise, and also you don't want to park your car outside in the heat, especially Teslas. They almost melt in Dubai.
Oh, wow.
So parking cost is another. People like covered parking is in very high demand everywhere, especially in the summers. So you need to pay a premium for that a lot of times. But once you get your own car, I would say day-to-day expenses on transport would be similar, but there'll be a high initial investment to get a car in Dubai.
Travel
percentage-wise, let me check. I would say about 5%. Approximately, give or take. Depends on weekends पे कहाँ खर्च कर रहे हो, cab ले रहे हो, नहीं ले रहे हो, things like that.
तो अभी तक तो 35 हो.
So it's 55 approximately.
नहीं ना, तो grocery तो ऐड नहीं किया.
Groceries I would say another 5%. It's super cheap. And then competition भी बहुत ज़्यादा है यहाँ पे grocery stores में, because it's not like कि Indian stuff एक ही जगह मिलेगा. Every other store has Indian groceries, for example, or even basic groceries. So competition बहुत ज़्यादा, so they can't charge a premium. So customers ending up paying very cheap prices for groceries or vegetables that they want. So 5% approximately मान लो, again depending on consumption.
The 60% saving then?
Yes, 60% approximately, because no taxes also. बाकी 5%, 10% leisure or entertainment expenses. If you want to go for the movies or eating outside, things like that. Eating outside is also cheap, by the way. You get very good food at cheaper prices.
And the cheap you are mentioning is in comparison to India?
In comparison to Singapore. So as compared to Singapore, it's quite cheap.
Got it.
Yeah.
So अगर compare करने जाएं, let's say assuming similar salary levels in both the places, in Dubai you are able to save about 50% of your income, of your take-home pay.
Yeah.
Tax nahi hai, that's one part of it.
Yeah.
For one single person's income, right?
For one single person.
And then if you compare that situation to somebody who's earning about the same amount of money living in Singapore, what percentage would that person be able to say? Or like what were you saving in Singapore for, let's say, approximately the same kind of income?
I would say about 30%, because डेल्टा आया वो 10% आप रेंट ज़्यादा पे कर रहे हो या कॉस्ट ऑफ लिविंग पे ज़्यादा खर्चा आ रहा है, और 10% आप एवरेज टैक्स पे कर रहे हो. तो डायरेक्टली 20% का वो है. एंड प्लस रेंट का यहाँ पे खर्च पकड़ा है दुबई में You get a double the size apartment as Singapore.
Right.
So it's not like same living conditions. अगर same living conditions रखोगे, you'll end up saving more than 50% in Dubai.
That actually brings us to the next part कि lifestyle के बारे में भी आपको क्या लगता है कि सिंगापुर और दुबई के difference, and of course keeping India also in mind, like what advantages you get staying in Dubai.
In terms of lifestyle, I think first point to वही apartment sizes या apartment quality, you can say. There are a lot bigger apartments in Dubai. Well-maintained apartments, maintenance is mostly on the house. If you want to fix a leakage or something, you don't need to do it yourself. You spend on a handyman or someone. Directly building management ही करवा के देता है. So you save up on that a lot. उसके बाद I would say helpers is pretty easily available here at cheaper rate. Good helpers, both cooks and cleaners. तो and in case you have kids, nannies भी बहुत easily available है यहाँ पे, multiple nationalities की. There is no problem with that. I would say social life is better है because यहाँ पे देसी population ज़्यादा है. So you will find a lot more people to hang out with. और घर बड़े हैं तो people are keen to host people as well. There is no friction like I don't have space, how can I host even 4 people or things like that. तो वो भी एक फायदा है. दुबई में घर largely unfurnished मिलता है, so you need to invest on furnitures, but furniture is also cheap. According to the longevity you're looking here, for example, आप बोल रहे हो कि मैं दुबई में 2 साल ही रहूंगा, so you get furniture options which guarantees 2 years of life. Which is cheap. So you can invest in that, and 2 साल के बाद अगर आप और रहना चाह रहे हो, you can get a new furniture which is broken down and accordingly take a call. You don't need to invest a lot in IKEA furniture or stuff like that. Though IKEA is available here, it's slightly higher in price and got more resale value, but you can optimize according to your needs. I think social life and living conditions, food and grocery are easily available, both on the app delivery services. That's there. You just need to fiddle around a bit. Markets stay open, 24 hours, a lot of shops. Largely because of Middle East culture as well. A lot of restaurants are open till midnight. A lot of services are 24 hours, so you don't need to bother about that. Convenience is the keyword here, I would say. Dubai is way more convenient than any other place for desi people like us.
What are the negative points, sir? हम 3 सिंगापुर में बैठे हैं, हमको ऐसा लग रहा है कि दुबई बहुत अच्छा है.
वेदर सर, वेदर यहाँ पे 47 है अभी बाहर. तो अगर आप दिन में सोच रहे हो कि मैं एक वॉक पे चले जाऊं या फिर आई जस्ट वांट टू गेट सम फ्रेश एयर, ऑल यू गेट इज फ्रेश हॉट एयर. तो आप बाहर जाओगे, 10 मिनट भी रहोगे, यू फील लाइक यू गॉट अ सौना एंड देन यू कम बैक. सो वेदर इज अ बिग टर्न ऑफ. 8 months a year. On the flip side, जो winters, so-called winters है यहाँ पे, महीने के होते हैं, that's the best time. That's when even tourists come in. That's when people get their parents and relatives to come over. So उस time पे ठीक है. So weather is one downside. Public transport is again very big downside if you're not a car person. And greenery नहीं है यहाँ पे, like, or you don't have places to go and hang out and things like that. You might have to end up going to an indoor place, man-made, crafted for tourists, or you have to go and spend in a restaurant. तो वैसे कुछ नहीं है कि जैसे सिंगापुर में go to मकरीची और बॉटनिक गार्डन्स चले गए या मरीना बे में डोल रहे हो, वैसा कुछ भी नहीं है. There are areas, but again 8 महीने वैसे नहीं जा पाओगे और 4 महीने फिर टूरिस्ट वहां जमा हो जाएंगे, तो residents के लिए it's not a good deal.
ठीक है, before we move on to the transition piece, and we've slightly covered it, Dubai में how are the investment options? So do you invest in the local market within Dubai, or is it easy to invest in foreign markets like the US market or any other market?
So honest answer, I haven't explored that area a bit at all, क्योंकि सिंगापुर में भी मेरे investments इंडिया ही जाते थे. सिंगापुर में मैंने कभी एक्सप्लोर नहीं किया, या जो भी मैंने पॉडकास्ट के थ्रू सीखा है या आप लोगों से सीखा है, there are not many options as far as I understand. Similar story I think दुबई में भी है, but दुबई में restrictions कम है because there is no taxes, so there is no regulation, there is no, government is not watching you in general. काफी सारे ट्रांजैक्शंस कैश में भी होते हैं, आप पूरा का पूरा साल का रेंट भी कैश में पे कर सकते हैं यहाँ पे. nobody bats an eye. Having said that, I would say friction points कम है, but मैंने personally explore नहीं किया है. I'm still the person who parks my money back in India and invest there. जो ना लोगों से, there is something called interactive brokers here which allows you to invest in global markets, which is very frictionless in Dubai. And यहाँ पे Russians, Ukrainians, British as nationalities काफी आ रही है यहाँ पे, and they are the target crowd of those kind of services right now. Proactively मैंने कुछ यहाँ पे नहीं start किया है अभी तक.
So it's an interesting thing. What drives you to almost all of your investments back in India? Is that part of your general life plan कि वापस जाना है और
Yeah. So general life plan have always been going back to India and settled there. And all three of you might already know कि जब मैं opportunities देख रहा था सिंगापुर के बाहर तो इंडिया में भी देख रहा था, right? But Indian job market 3-4 साल से बहुत खराब है, so nothing clicked for me. I got no offers literally. And Dubai market भी खराब था, but I ended up getting one offer. That was the only offer I had, and it looked good, so I joined. So in terms of investment philosophy, I ultimately क्योंकि इंडिया ही जाना है तो वहाँ पे liquidity चाहिए, plus my parents are back in India. I would like to give that liquidity to them in some sense. Investments जो है वो भी उनके ही नाम पे है. I don't have a NRO, NRE in India. I still have savings. So investments are in their name. So I send it to them as a gift and then they invest on that. Other reason is I have a cousin who's an advisor in India, a mutual fund advisor. So I don't put my brains in anywhere picking up the right funds or stuff. I just call him and tell him ki I need to invest X more per month, and then he allocates looking at my risk profile or my targets basically. So I think I heard Rohit itself in one of the previous episodes when he said if some service is available for a fee and they do it well, let's give it, right? Why do you want to give your own brains? You might end up spending more time and might not get the same amount of return in that time spent. So I stick to that philosophy as well, that if you have a service provider who is charging you a small fee but gives you the right advice, pretty loyal across your investment journey, then I would say just go for it. So that's another big reason why I park my money there. And thirdly is a real estate investment. I have to end up taking a place there. I'm very close to finalizing a deal. So for that, I would need liquidity in India. So these are 2-3 key reasons that I park my money back in India.
Is this real estate as an investment or for you to live in the future and your parents to live in right now?
Again, one of the things जो मैंने podcast episode से उठाई है चाय पे खर्चा की कि real estate investment in India is more of an emotional decision and less of an investment decision. तो मेरे लिए भी emotional angle ही है कि I need a permanent place in India where my parents can stay. And whenever we go, we don't need to bother about rent and whatever. We have we have a ठिकाना in India basically. So mostly an emotional decision. तो मैंने investment perspective से उसको analyze भी नहीं कर रहा हूँ कि इस पे कितना growth होगा, कितना returns मिलने वाला है इस investment पे. It's largely कि एक लेना है घर, let's take it whenever the time is right.
Makes sense. I think another interesting philosophy very connected to that, like real estate is and can for most people be a very emotional decision. And I think the other thing is money is a means to an end, right? Like आप पैसे कमाते हो लाइफ जीने के लिए, राइट? खाली बैंक में पड़ा रहे और आपको रिटर्न्स मिलते रहे और आप वो रिटर्न्स को देख के खुश होते रहो, then are you really living your life?
Yeah.
So I mean, I think it makes complete sense to do what is right for you, for your family. That's why we work hard. That's why we live away from home.
Yeah.
To be able to provide a better quality of life. And if part of that is buying a place to live, your permanent mikana, then by all means,
Yeah, absolutely. And apart from just one thing to add, so apart from investments back in India, I do have 30 to 40% exposure of my net worth in US markets, which came as employee stock units through my previous employers. So that's the mix I have, the basic mix. Sorry, Madhvesh.
हाँ, the same vein रोहित जो बताया है कि जो कन्वीनियंस इंडिया में है वो सब छोड़ के हम आ रहे हैं. एंड अभी आजकल वो घर वापसी भी काफी चल रहा है कि जो बाहर है वापस आ रहा है. सो यू हैव लाइक सिमिलर एक्सपीरियंस कि 4-5 साल इंडिया में, इंडिया के बाहर भी. डू यू थिंक इफ यू हैव अ कंपेरेबल इनकम इन इंडिया, डज इट इवन मेक सेंस टू मूव टू दुबई?
Comparable income as in Dubai right now?
No, अभी इंडिया में तो सैलरीज, टेक का सैलरीज तो काफी बढ़ चुका है. And do you think it makes sense for that person to come to Dubai, or
let me just add on to that comparable saving.
Comparable savings.
Comparable savings. Okay, now that makes sense. So if it is about comparable savings, I would say it's probably, again, personal opinion, I would say probably it might not be a good move क्योंकि मेरे लिए इंडिया के बाहर निकलना था because I wanted to, amplify my savings, right? मेरे को एक्सपेंडिचर पे इतना ध्यान नहीं था, but I just wanted to कि मैं जितना इंडिया में सेव कर रहा हूँ क्या मैं उससे ज्यादा कर पा रहा हूँ क्या? And that has to be at least 2x or 3x the value. Otherwise, the kind of pain that you will take to move and uproot your life in one place and move to another does not make sense. So India to Singapore में वो हो रहा था. It was about 3x of what I was saving in India. That became 3x after I went to Singapore. Singapore to Dubai में personal reasons भी थे, but savings point of view से भी as we just saw the math, it made sense. So if you are talking about someone with comparable saving, I don't think it will make sense क्योंकि बहुत सारे hidden cost भी होते हैं moving के that you don't really realize. And you might end up thinking some point in time कि ये मैंने क्या कर दिया, I shouldn't have done this. And going back will also cost you a lot of money. So overall, it will be a very bad decision. It could be a bad decision.
And if we see from a convenience of angle point of view, do you think Dubai is like let's do a comparison across India, Singapore, and Dubai in terms of convenience of life.
So I would say India is at the top in terms of convenience because you get the same people but at cheaper prices, right? Groceries bhi le lo, rent bhi le lo, whatever it is. Dubai would be second because convenience है यहाँ पे but comes at a cost. Singapore में convenience ही नहीं है तो cost का तो angle ही नहीं है, right? अगर है भी तो it's very very costly. So India would be convenient and cheap. Dubai would be convenient and average priced. And Singapore would be non-convenient and costly.
Same question, but convenience of living की जगह standard of living, yeah, to rephrase it, happiness index across the three places. How would that compare?
That's a trick question, Siddharth. I would say happiness index में उल्टा हो जाएगा. I would say Singapore, you would feel much happier because of the environment, because of different kind of convenience. I would say it's not like you have cooks or cleaners. It's more around I need to buy something, I'll just go out, take a short walk, buy something and come back. So I think us angle mein it's a better, you feel good looking out of the window in Singapore. You might not feel the same way in the other two places. So happiness index की बात करो तो Singapore would be on top as compared to these three places. Again, Dubai और India फिर comparable है क्योंकि India में depends where are you staying. You can optimize on that. हर 100 किलोमीटर में taste, हवा, पानी सब बदल जाता है तो ये तो काफी बदल जाएगा.
This is the end of part 1 of the episode. We will continue next week with part 2. Thank you for listening in and stay tuned.